Last week, we saw an absolute meltdown from the entertainment industry to the mainstream media to all the people that get gaslit by those very same people and repeat their talking points, all over Jimmy Kimmel being suspended and pulled indefinitely by Disney after he went up there and lied about the Charlie Kirk assassin, after he told his audience, small though it may be, that he was killed by a right-winger, that Charlie Kirk was murdered by a MAGA person. It was ridiculous. It was insane, and what followed was massive backlash towards Jimmy Kimmel. And even with the backlash that he received over these lies, he still would have gone on air the next day if it hadn't been for the sponsors, if it hadn't been for the individual TV stations that were in an uproar over this. They are the ones who told ABC, hey, we're not going to deal with this stuff. Something has to be done. But the left tried to make it about Trump. They tried to repeat lies and say Trump is doing this. This is fascism. Even though Jimmy Kimmel was not fired, nobody was fired from the Jimmy Kimmel show. They suspended it so they could talk to Jimmy Kimmel because they realized that he was about to go on air the next day and double down on these lies. That is what we found out, even if the mainstream media, even if Hollywood elites don't want you to know that. Instead, they tried to turn it into somehow their Charlie Kirk. Even though Jimmy Kimmel was suspended for a handful of days and Charlie Kirk got murdered for actually defending free speech. You saw celebrities joining with the ACLU to protest Disney. You saw Disney and Marvel stars, people like Tatiana Maslany, people like Pedro Pascal and Mark Ruffalo standing with Jimmy Kimmel and pushing back against Disney. It is the wildest shit because, like I said a few days ago, he's going to be back on the air. He was not fired. But when you have all your individual broadcasters saying, we're not going to air this on television, when you have the sponsors, the advertisers saying, we're not going to run ads on this after the things that Jimmy Kimmel said, you had to do something. So they took him off the air for a few days. And what do you know? He's back. Tonight, Jimmy Kimmel will be back on air. Disney says Jimmy Kimmel Live will return to ABC on Tuesday. And this is their official statement. Last Wednesday, we made the decision to suspend a production on the show to avoid further inflaming a tense situation at an emotional moment for our country. It's a decision we made because we felt some of the comments were ill-timed and thus insensitive. Well, it's not that they were ill-timed. It's not that they were insensitive. It's that they were lies. Jimmy Kimmel on his show pushed the idea that instead of being murdered by someone with left-wing ideas, somebody who wrote Antifa messaging, someone who said, catch this fascist, all of this stuff, somebody who is described as all these individuals in their life as a left-winger, they tried to make it out like a Donald Trump supporter or a right-winger or a MAGA person killed Charlie Kirk because Jimmy Kimmel wanted to push that agenda. He lied to everybody. That's why people were upset. We have spent the last few days having thoughtful conversations with Jimmy, and after those conversations, we reached the decision to return to the show on Tuesday. Now, I'm sure all of the fucking retards who convinced themselves and repeated this stuff over and over again that Trump is the reason Disney did this because of Trump. Maybe you think you got a massive win now that you changed the tide, that because a couple dozen of you said you were going to cancel Disney Plus, that's why Disney did this. They only ever suspended him. Now, in the aftermath of this, some of the things have come out about his ratings, and they are abysmal. I would imagine that when Jimmy Kimmel comes back tonight, a lot of these same people that got all up in arms and gaslit over the idea of Trump censoring Jimmy Kimmel, which never actually happened, I imagine the ratings are going to be big for like a few days, and then it's going to go back and fade into complete and total irrelevancy. But it's not going to be back on all ABC channels because Sinclair Broadcasting, which one of the groups of individual ABC stations locally all across the country, they were one of the ones that stepped up and said, we're not going to air this before Disney made the decision. They are now saying, despite Disney saying Jimmy Kimmel will be back, he's not going to be back on their airwaves. Jimmy Kimmel TV comeback collapsing as Sinclair Broadcasting Group says it won't air show on its ABC stations. Now, they have 33 ABC affiliates. So it's important to note that, yes, ABC, Disney, all that stuff, they're the ones that make the show. But it gets aired on a bunch of local broadcasts, right? When you think of, ABC 7 News, your local, San Diego, whatever it might be, whatever area in the country you have local ABC affiliates. Those are owned by different groups of people. Sinclair Broadcasting, one of those groups. They have said flat out, It's not going to be coming back for them, at least not yet. Beginning Tuesday night, Sinclair will be preempting Jimmy Kimmel Live across our ABC affiliate stations and replacing it with news programming. Discussions with ABC are ongoing as we evaluate the show's potential return. So even though Disney is bringing Jimmy Kimmel back, there will be some ABC stations locally that will not air his show. And it has been, I guess, sad and pathetic to see the way that so many people have been gaslit over this situation. The idea that it's fascism. This is the biggest attack on free speech we've ever seen. What, by Disney, after their advertisers saying they're not going to air, they're not going to pay for this shit, after all these broadcast stations saying we're not going to air the Jimmy Kimmel show, that Disney, for a couple days, took Jimmy Kimmel off the air before he decided to double down and make things worse, and then returned him a few days later. That a 3-day suspension is the biggest attack on free speech this country's ever seen, when Charlie Kirk just got murdered for his free speech, right? That's what they have tried to tell you. They have tried to make this into a huge moment. We are all Jimmy Kimmel. It's been fucking pathetic and a little bit blackpilling to see how many people have fallen for it. But that's why the media spreads lies. That's why they lie to you. Because they know useful fucking retards will continue to repeat it. Jimmy Kimmel will be back on air tonight. They're recording today. And I'm sure it'll be met with celebration from the left. Look at what we did. We stood up to Disney and to Trump, even though Trump had nothing to do with this whatsoever. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments section below. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, share this video out there, and I'll talk to you later.